Michelle Prince, founder and CEO of Performance Publishing Group, making a difference one story at a time. We'll be shining the light on successful founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders that are getting results and making a difference. We'll talk about how they built their businesses, are creating movements, and leveraging the power of authority in their own lives. Be sure to stick around to the end of the show, and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Power of Authority Spotlight with Michelle Prince. I'm excited to dive in today because we have an incredible guest that is going to be sharing some awesome tips. He's known as your business wingman, and his name is Jason Ballard. I'll tell you a little bit about Jason, but then I'm going to let him dive a little bit deeper into his backstory. But Jason Ballard is the founder and president of Soar Hire Coaching and Training. He serves as a top-rated business and executive coach where he's leveraged his 27 plus years of real-world leadership experience and the world's best business practices to accelerate the growth of career professionals and organizations to desired levels of success, maximize revenue and profits, and solve tough problems, achieve big goals, and reach their full potential faster than they could on their own. Wow, that sounds like a lot. That's awesome. He has a diverse background, and it spans from growing up and working in a family-owned construction company to leading government, commercial sector, and nonprofit organizations. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, thanks, Michelle. Pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. So we talked a tiny bit beforehand, and I'm all about leadership and training and development and all those things. And it sounds like, and coaching, it sounds like we share those passions. So tell us more about what your company does, who you serve, and all of that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And it's so great to spend time with another like-minded person that's in this space that's out there trying to help people and help them be successful. So the short of it is Soar Hire Coaching and Training is a three-tier company. So we do business and executive coaching for business owners, C-suite members, decision makers of companies that could be in small, medium, or large size. We serve people all over the world in all industries. So we're not industry specific at all. And we're helping them from a business coaching standpoint. We're helping them understand more about their business, how to operate that, how to grow that, how to scale that in a very smart, logical, meaningful way. So they kind of get away from trying to try things and see how this works and these, kind of gimmicky things that are out there that trip people up. It's not even a right fit for them, where you can, like you said, a business wingman. I'm kind of right beside them, guiding them through the process, minimizing their mistakes, minimizing their opportunities of doing things that may not be right for them. They might not be ready to do some of the things they're wanting to do. And so working side by side with them to have a customized, unique plan that meets them where they're at and takes them to the place that they want to go to achieve whatever levels of success they want to achieve. We also do the executive coaching where we work one-on-one with usually management level folks and above on their personal career growth, leadership, and development. And that could be anything from grooming somebody to the next level that's looking to be promoted in the company, or folks that just find their way in life and maybe struggling or maybe going through some things that are tripping them up. And we help kind of give them tools and resources to move them through that and be successful. The second aspect is training. We offer all types of different trainings that cover the gamut of business, that leadership, time management, teamwork, team building, those kind of things. The third thing we do that kind of ties all this stuff together is the assessments. We have over 100 different types of assessments that look at a company from a number of different angles, about a 360-degree view to see how they're performing, how they compare to others, and then give them a place to start. So we give them data, we give them some real facts of how things are really going versus how they think they're going, and then we figure out how to take them from there and go from there.
Awesome. Are these assessments things like behavioral assessments like DISC, Myers-Briggs, or any of those, or are these more, what types of assessments?
Yeah, so it's a combination. I use DISC assessments a lot, more on an individual or team level. I think those are some of the best ones out there that really scientifically proven over 100 years of really how to measure up teams and culture and stress levels and what motivates people and how to get people engaged the right way. And there's a lot of different ways to do that with those types of assessments. There's a whole, I think there's well over like 70 assessments in kind of the DISC assessment world. But we also offer other types of assessments. We offer full-fledged business assessments where we go in and look at all of the different aspects of a company, from the mindset to the culture to the finances to the marketing, all that stuff, and give them a comprehensive view of where they're at and what it's going to take for them to get to that next level of success as they want to achieve.
Love it. So how did you get into this? What's the backstory that brought you?
That was a long and winding road, Michelle.
Yes.
I started out, I didn't realize it until later in life, but I've always kind of had this entrepreneurial spirit about me. I grew up in a little small town, Land O'Lakes, Florida. Everybody says, "Oh, that's where they make the butter." And I'm like, "No, it's too hot in Florida to make butter there. It'll be melted by the time you do it." But Land O'Lakes, Florida, yeah, little small towns, a little country bumpkin town back in the day, just north of Tampa. We lived out on the ranch, no neighbors. We had horses and all this kind of stuff and in our ranch. And my family is a bunch of entrepreneurs. My dad owned a construction business. My uncle and other family members had an electrical company, the trades and the blue collar. So I grew up, doing roofing and concrete work and all the, dirty work my dad didn't want to do. He kind of pawned it off on me as his sidekick. And so I grew up in that, and I learned a ton about business and about how to survive and how to be creative and innovative with how to shape your business and really be opportunistic. And I was in my high school year, going into my high school senior year, and my parents split up and things kind of went south with the family. And I'd always had even at a young age, Michelle, I've always had a bigger vision inside of my brain, and I can't explain it. It's just there. And I just had this bigger vision. And when my parents split up, it was a crossroads moment where you have to make a decision. And I chose the path of chasing education and all that. And so the only way I could really do that in a smart way without, driving myself crazy is I ended up going into the military. I had a few friends that were in the military and would tell me things about it. I had a couple of family members in the military before me, 2 grandfathers, but they passed away when I was young. So I didn't really understand anything about the military. But I just I'll go in for a few years. I'll work hard. I'll try to get some education benefits because I was driven to be educated. I was driven to be the first person in my family to ever go to college, ever. And so I went into the Air Force, and then my whole world changed. I got out of the small town and got a perspective of life that I didn't even know existed. And I had, I'm so blessed. The good Lord just really has a way of working in your life. And he brought some leaders into my life that saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And they said, "I don't know everything about you, kid, but you got something.
Wow.
Let's see what we can do with it." And I got endorsed to get my commission. I was in a couple of years, and I got my commission to be an officer, and that turned in, 4 years turned into 20 something, and I left as a colonel and got to go all over the world and be a part of a lot of amazing things all over the world. Just some wonderful people and just crazy things you never even think of getting into. I had the pleasure of doing that, and with the wonderful people around me. So when it was all said and done, that one opportunity opened so many doors and taught me so many things about leadership. And I'll never forget it. I was relatively junior in my career, and I was a brand new officer. My first assignment was at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia as my first assignment as an officer. Sat down with my boss for the first time, and we talked for about an hour, got to know each other. And he says, there's just something about you, and I'm going to put you on this path.
Wow.
And he mentored me, and he shaped me along with a number of others. And when I left that assignment, we left together.
Mm-hmm.
At my going away party or whatever, he came up to me and he's like, look, if anybody ever asks you, who are you? You just tell them one word: leader. And that stuck with me. I never, I'm just a small town country boy, and never really was exposed to some of this stuff. And when he said that, it just like pierced me.
Uh-huh.
And I never forgot that.
Wow.
And when you realize you have God-given skills that a lot of people don't, may not have, and you have the ability to affect change and lead people and help people, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely powerful. And so that journey kind of took me on, and I've served in a number of other leadership roles and in the private sector and in politics and stuff since. And, at the end of the day, I'm in my late 40s, and I look at myself and I was like, how can I serve and continue to serve in a broader way? Didn't even know what business coaching really, I knew what consulting was, but I didn't really understand business coaching until I ran into somebody else a number of years ago. And I kind of started, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff. And leaders, build new leaders. And,
Yes.
I had made it to the top. I had this young man come up to me about 5 years ago, and he came up to me in the break room. And he's like, hey, Mr. Ballard, can I talk to you for a minute? And I said, yeah, what's going on? He's like, well, I was hoping you could mentor me. Okay, not the first time that's happened. Okay, that sounds great. But it's what he said next that really anchored some things in my thought process. I was like, well, why do you want me to help you? What kind of things do you want me to help you with? It's like, well, I don't quite know, but you made it to the top, and I want to be like you. I want to learn how you did it.
Wow.
And I never had saw myself at the top of the mountain as a C-suite level person, kind of, conquered the world. I never saw myself that way. But I went home that night, and I thought a lot about that.
Wow.
I thought, wow, a lot of people see me in that vein. I figured it out with the help of a lot of good people. But one thing I noticed in the civilian sector that was different than the military, the civilian sector doesn't focus on leadership. They don't focus on development like the military and those kind of folks do. And there is such a need.
Yes.
And I'm like, I got to fill it. And that's kind of where it went.
Wow. Gosh, so many things you said there. I want to unpack some of them. I mean, first of all, the person who said the one word, if you ever describe yourself leader, that's powerful. That is really powerful, because a leader, I mean, at the end of the day, and I think we get sometimes like, well, who am I to do this or who am I to do that? I work with a lot of people who write books, and at first they're like, well, who am I to tell my story? Well, because you're a leader, and a leader means you might just be one step ahead of someone else. but that one step, you've learned so many things that you could turn around and help somebody with. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, right?
That's right.
But I also love your story is just so intertwined with the power of a mentor. I mean, I'm a big believer in coaching and mentoring and mentors. My first mentor was Zig Ziglar, and it shapes who you are. And something you said in the very beginning, or I'm going to paraphrase, but that sometimes a coach will see things in you that maybe either you don't see or you're not prepared to see, and there's just we can go so much farther when we have that encouragement and coaching, especially in business.
Yeah, especially in today's world. I mean, with the impact of coronavirus and the pandemic and all the disruption that's going on, we live in a world that moves faster and faster every year. It's predicted in the next 15 years, more change will occur than the past 150 years combined.
Wow.
And so how do businesses adapt to things that are disruptive, like a natural disaster, like a pandemic, like, changes in the market or what have you, right? Wars that go on around the world, anything, that's interesting that people sometimes forget that we're not alone in the world. Mm-hmm. Everything we do from an economic and business standpoint is connected and interconnected. Things that happen in China affect our economy here. Things that happen in Europe, Brexit, whatever you want to call it, anything that's going on in the world, good or bad, is felt kind of like a ripple in the pond, is felt by everybody.
Yeah.
And so, when you come out, when you're riding the high wave of the economy pre-COVID, everybody's doing good, everybody's making money, everybody's positive and confident. And then this little disruptive thing kind of gets introduced into the equation. And then people, it exposes, things. It's kind of like when the tide rises, it floats all boats. But when it goes out, it exposes everything at the bottom of the harbor too, that's broken and not working right, that gets covered up and glossed over by everything that's going on that looks good and sounds good in the media when the economy is really rolling, right? Yeah. And so I think that's what happened here with coronavirus. It showcased, the things that maybe weren't so good, or maybe the things that had been neglected, and then people struggled to deal with it and respond to it. So the question really is just, well, if the world's going to move faster and if we're more susceptible to disruption, how do we go forward and minimize that? How do we succeed in that? How do we, thrive in that?
Yeah, no, and that brings up a great question, especially since the podcast is called The Power of Authority Spotlight, and it is about building that authority. And as a business owner, how do we do that? And how do you differentiate? And so and the fact that you came from a family of business owners and entrepreneurs, you probably have a lot more insight, but how are you leveraging, or how are you building your authority in your business, especially now in this time?
Yeah, well, a couple different ways. One, people underneath the surface, when you see people, talk to people, walking on the street, in church, or wherever you congregate and talk to people these days, and you talk to them, well, everybody's doing good, everybody's okay. And, you kind of get the general, thing everybody tells you. Where they're busy, everything's good, blah, blah, blah. But about 75% of the people in the world aren't. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If truth be known, they really aren't, quote unquote, good.
Right.
And there's some fear there. There's some unknowns there. And really it stems from change and being willing to change, mm-hmm. being open to change, being open to the art of the possible, because a lot of people, especially in the small, well, even in the bigger businesses, they're used to doing things a certain way. And then when you disrupt that, they don't know what to do with it. Then they get nervous, they get scared, and they have fears, and they start losing sleep at night, and they start worrying. And especially, because it is lonely at the top as a leader. I've been there. I've cried myself to sleep a few times, or, in very tough situations. And people need to know that there's other people out there that have been there and done that.
Yes.
And are there to help them. And if they can let their pride and sometimes ego kind of go and be open to some new ways of doing things, and accept help from people that really know what they're doing, folks like you, what a world of a difference that can make. It's actually could be life-changing differences for them.
Yeah.
And so I find myself having, some heart-to-heart conversations with folks about what they're doing. Even if they don't hire me as a coach to come in and help them, giving them resources, pointing them in the direction, connecting them to people that can help them if I'm not the right person to, or they're not able to bring me in and do that. And so really it's about uncovering truth and really being honest, and then finding out how to navigate people through that process.
Yeah. And I know you have an assessment that you help people to do just that, right?
I do. Yeah. I've got a number of different assessments, but, from a business standpoint, I have, a portfolio of different things we can look at to measure, but I do have one broader comprehensive assessment that looks at everything across the business, the culture, the mindset, the attitude, the teamwork, the productivity, the marketing, the sales, leadership, communications, all these different components. Some of the things people don't normally think about when they think about assessing. They're looking at numbers and figures, but your company works and operates and successful around one thing. It's people. It's people. Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways to measure that. And I look at that, and we score that out and average that out. And then we kind of align that with where they are in their overall capability and their maturity levels. And then, kind of what it takes for them to move on to that next level of maturity, and then, help them pave a path to whatever that success is that they want to achieve for themselves. So,
and you have a free assessment on your website, right? That people can take?
I sure do. There's a free online assessment. You can, excuse me, you can go to soarhirecoaching.com/resources. There's a full page of all kinds of free tools and everything from ebooks and articles to calculators and assessments and things. But one of the showcase pieces on there, it's at the very top of the page, is a business assessment. And it takes less than 5 minutes to do it. It's free, no obligation. You click on that link, and it'll ask you a series of questions and kind of walk you through different aspects of your business. And it will, at the end, it will kind of package that up in a nice, really pretty visual, graphical, dashboard looking PDF document that gives them a scorecard of where they're at and some things they need to be thinking about to move forward.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for offering that. That is so awesome. So, I can tell I do talk to a lot of business owners, and look, we're all in business because we're here to be in business, right? Help people. But there's sometimes with people, there's a bigger reason behind it. And I can sense that with you, that you have a bigger passion driving this. And so my question to you is, what legacy do you want to leave with your coaching?
Yeah, no, that's a powerful question. Wow. But a good one. And one I often ask folks that I work with, but seldom think about for myself. To be honest with you, I'm really not the kind of guy that thinks about legacy. that thinks about the day that I'm laying in a casket and everybody's at my funeral, weeping and cheering or whatever they're doing. And they read off a bunch of accomplishments and legacy kind of stuff. I really just don't think about that. But in that same context, if I were to be a fly on the wall in that funeral, my own funeral, what I would want people to know and want people to feel is, that Jason Ballard was a caring, passionate person that genuinely wanted to make a difference in the world, and that figured out at a certain point in his life that the good Lord had given him some things that were unique to him that not everybody had, and that I used that to the best of my ability to hand that off to that next generation. It's a leader's responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility, but especially a leader's responsibility to get to a point in their life where they start giving away that wisdom. They start setting the next generation up for success so they can continue to evolve and take it to the next level, not go backwards, not struggle and try to figure things out like you may had to. You help elevate them so everybody can be elevated. It's kind of like the pebble in the pond analogy, right? Where if I'm the pebble and I help you, Michelle, and something happens good for you, that good will proliferate out to other people around you, and they'll do good. And if we all do good and kind of work off of that energy and inertia, that the world just might actually be a better place one day. You never know. And so This next generation coming up, the baby boomers are kind of rolling off. I think coronavirus kind of shifted that a little faster than some may have wanted. Now we've got a workforce full of millennials, and they need mentorship, good people, smart people, great ideas, but they are just so different and their needs are different. They say, well, I talk to people all the time, and what's your big pain point? Oh, I can't find good people, and nobody wants to work. And I hear all these complaints all the time. And yes, there are challenges, but are you able to give the workforce what they need, or are you still focused on what you used to give the workforce that are no longer really in the workforce predominantly as they used to be? And so there's some big disconnects there. And my goodness, if we can empower this next generation and give them these tools and wrap around them the things that you and I and others similar have to offer, and they can take that and run with it, I think we're going to be in good shape.
I totally agree. And we owe it to that generation to share what we know. As Zig would say, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And most people want hope and inspiration. And so if we have a way in leadership, so if we have a way to do that for others, we should. So Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. Again, please take advantage of this free assessment. Just go to soarhirecoaching.com. That's SOAR, hirecoaching.com. Click on the assessment and take advantage of that. And thank you again for joining us, and look forward to taking that assessment myself. So thank you, Jason.
No, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience today.
You bet. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next Power of Authority Spotlight. Thanks so much for listening to the Power of Authority Spotlight. If you're a successful founder, entrepreneur, business owner, or leader that's getting results and making a difference, and you'd like to be on this program, please visit us at go.michelleprince.com/podcast-guest to apply. That's go.michelleprince.com/podcast-guest. Also, if you got something out of this interview, please share this episode. Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend, or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag #ThePowerOfAuthoritySpotlight. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content, so make sure you don't miss any episodes by subscribing. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, michelleprince.com or performancepublishinggroup.com, or find me on social media. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.